Greetings and welcome to a Christmas LGR thing. It is December and that's what that means, typically anyway. I wasn't even sure I was going to do one of these this year because of stuff that's been happening in real life. All the post-hurricane nonsense has been a bit much, and all of my Christmas stuff is in storage, as is my hardware and my games, the normal kind of stuff that I would go through and try to cover around this time of year. But a certain someone convinced me to go ahead and put up some lights and just do it anyway. So Christmas it is. We're going to be going through an episode of The Computer Chronicles, one of my absolute favorite shows. It's been a huge inspiration to LGR over the years, and it ran from 1983 to 2002, covering the dawn of the personal computer era into the early internet and even beginnings of Web 2.0 and all that. It's a wonderful time capsule, and in particular, the Christmas episodes that started in 1985 and ran for years, I've always been really fond of. Just the vibes are cozy anyway in this show, but seeing all the hosts and the gadgets and the tech and stuff with a Christmassy kind of theme going on is really comforting. And I don't know about you, but I could use some holiday comfort right now. And plus, being a TV show that I can just stream on archive.org or YouTube or whatever, that's something that I can actually do here in this temporary location while my home is being rebuilt after the destruction of the hurricane. So yeah, let's just get right into that. Christmas. All right, Computer Chronicles, Christmas Buying Guide 1985. Let's go.
Let's see, computer books, software, joystick, what should I get them? If you're trying to figure out what to get the hacker on your Christmas shopping list, Gary, Wendy Woods, Paul Schindler, George Morrow, and I'll be here in just a minute to give you our picks for Christmas presents from the computer store.
How much do you want to bet that Stuart requested the Activision game hacker to be beside him in the background there when he said that line? Because when do you get the computer hacker in your life? I love this intro, although it's a bit of a missed opportunity to do like a holiday Christmasified version of it, but yeah, it's wonderful. It just sounds like computers, learning, future possibilities. Got an Apple II.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, but
Gary.
It's either Gary Claus or Santa Kildall, I'm not sure which. Gary, this is the ultimate high-tech Christmas present for the hacker on your list. It's a Christmas card on a floppy disk. It's $9.95. It's called the Jingle Disc from Thoughtware, and it just plays a whole series of animated Christmas cards and Christmas.
So I've done a video on the Jingle Disc, and it was probably this that I learned about it, because having watched pretty much every single episode of Computer Chronicles and really being inspired to start a lot of LGR things and cover the kind of stuff that I do by watching the archives of this, yeah, I would not be surprised if this is where I even learned about Jingle Disc to begin with.
Gary, we're going to be talking about computer Christmas presents on this show. You have any things you're buying for people?
Well, this is sort of a Tinker Toy for Techies show, and what I went out and did as an excuse was went out and bought myself a present.
Okay, well, you're going to show it to us.
Oh, Gary. You gotta love the guy. Like, I've done a whole video on him, of course, Digital Research and CP/M as he created it and programmed that, came up with that whole, first real mainstream operating system for computers, pre-Microsoft and Bill Gates doing that whole thing. And like, he could have been Bill Gates if history had gone a little bit differently. And RIP Mr. Kildall, gone too soon. And in memory, and so yeah, celebration of Christmassy kind of things. So I gotta get some of this out here. Some Pennsylvania Dutch branded eggnog. Never had this before, and it looked like something I want.
We're going to have the whole Computer Chronicles family here to go through a list of computer Christmas presents for the hacker on your list. We're going to start out.
Hacker! That's like the third time he said hacker. I'm not a nerd. I prefer to be called a hacker. Smells like nog. That's wonderfully smooth. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, let's continue.
We're going to start out by going out and seeing how the computer shopping season is going out at the computer stores.
Yes, retail footage.
Entertaining for some and a nightmare for others, the year's biggest retail event is Christmas. Normally placid shoppers rush into crowded stores, and every kind of consumer product gets a boost in sales, including
I don't know about you, I've been a big fan of, well, I mean, any kind of footage like this, especially in Computer Chronicles, but the Vampire Robot channel, which I actually discovered where they get all of that footage recently. There is an archive that is not very well known that you can just go and find tens of thousands of segments and news pieces that were filmed on site and remote and whatever.
Including computers.
I think the computers are moving very well this year. The drop in prices in the expensive top-of-the-line machines has picked up sales in that area.
While the range of affordable machines has expanded, different features appeal to different kinds of customers. A youngster is more...
That guy looks so baffled by the Tandy 1000. He's like, yeah, it's computer, doing computer stuff.
A youngster is more likely to want color graphics than a spreadsheet, so Christmas sales of low-end computers are brisk. But as the gap narrows between home and...
That's an interesting way to put it. Kids are more likely to want color graphics than a spreadsheet, so the lower-end computers are selling quickly. Because yeah, the lower-end computers, like the color computer they were showing there from Tandy, those were the cheap ones. They had color, they played games, whereas it was the more expensive monochrome business machines. Yeah, it's almost the opposite of what you'd think, but that's definitely how it was for a bit there, especially with Tandys. That wall of software though, that IBM setup, that's a beautiful setup. Well, they got like on top of a perfectly fitting keyboard tray there to just slide into underneath there, and then they got the color monitor, the CGA monitor, on a stand. I've always loved this sort of stack of IBM PC stuff like that. I've never been able to get a setup completely like that, but I would love to. Reader Rabbit coming up. Ooh, George Morrow and Paul Schindler.
And over here, this character, George Morrow, our sometime host and regular commentator, and also coincidentally, the founder and chairman of Morrow Design, makers of the Pivot computer.
Right. Well, we will talk about hardware in the next segment.
Yeah, this is soft. Don't tell us to buy the Pivot for Christmas quite yet.
Don't tell us to buy the Pivot for Christmas. Yeah, George Morrow, interesting fella. I've been meaning to do a video on Morrow computers, although I did cover the Zenith Portable on LGR, which was effectively the same thing as the Pivot. Just, you know, I mean, it's not the same thing, but there's a connection there. I forget what it was. I did a video on it. I forgot.
Paul has been admiring my hat, so before he rips it off my head, I'm going to turn it over to him as a piece of software.
It's more appropriate to my image than yours, Gary.
Okay,
yeah.
We know who the clown in the crowd is right now.
The Willard Scott of the Computer Chronicles.
Okay, Gary, I want...
That's like the most wonderful boomer reference. The Willard Scott of Computer Chronicles? Yeah. Bozo the Clown's actor, or, you know, the dude who portrayed him, was also the original Ronald McDonald, I think. I don't know why I know this, but...
Hey, Gary, I want to do one thing before we get on to what the other guys have here. We showed Christmas software at the beginning of this Christmas card on a floppy disk. I want to show you this holiday software is interdenominational. This is a program called All About Hanukkah by Davka of Chicago, and it has a bunch of different programs in here to help kids celebrate the Hanukkah season. And one thing you can see is it actually lights the menorah for you. You tell it how many nights you want to light, and it lights up the menorah for you. So,
well, that's just adorable. What a nifty little piece of software. You know, it's interesting because Stuart Chaffee always went out of his way to show different religious church things, spiritual software and hardware. I remember him showing like computerized Bibles and Bible programs, but also like, you know, stuff like this Hanukkah thing or church hardware and software to run things during worship services. I don't know what his actual spirituality was himself, but he always showed stuff like this. And he was always like the only one on the crew to do that. And I was just curious looking up this software too, the All About Hanukkah thing by Davka or something. Can't find a thing. Certainly no archives. It might just be some lost software. So if anybody has that for the Apple II or whatever else it might have been released on, definitely for the Apple II, see if you can back that up.
If you're trying to get an inexpensive gift, one possibility is to go into a bookstore and trying to find something that's appropriate for a child or an adult, whatever. The trouble is you go into a store and you're going to find anything from ABCs on it to textbooks for artificial intelligence.
I wonder what a 1985 textbook on artificial intelligence would be like.
But she likes to draw, and so this book here, Becoming a Mac Artist, is an example of one that's very much oriented toward her needs of learning how to create repeating forms, for example, repeating border samples, and shows her how to use this thing in a way that, let's say an illustrator would.
Becoming a Mac Artist. On eBay, there's one for 35 bucks. That's a bit more than an impulse purchase for me. However, Amazon, looks like they have a copy for $9.99. Now that is more tempting. I might put it on my cart for later, think about it. This is honestly what I do so very much when I'm watching Computer Chronicles. I'm just like going through here and being like, ooh, what's that? What's that? What's that? And genuinely, like so many of my videos over the years, probably over 100, have come from doing exactly this.
Let's get back to you. We're talking software now. What to you would be the ideal software gift for somebody at Christmas time?
Well, you know, my orientation is an awful lot toward the business marketplace, and with the stock market doing the things they are now, it seems Signal software is a really innovative product that is going to not only help you with your investments, but protect you on the downside.
But it's different from other software. It's real time, right? You've got a radio
It is
receiver
real time. There's an FM receiver associated with it, and you are tracking the market just as it goes on. And it's a very innovative product.
What the heck?
A Lotus add-on, right? I mean, you can sit there, be running Lotus, and at the same time you're receiving over the airwaves.
That's true. That's true.
Stock quote.
Wow, I wish they had a demonstration of that going on. Signal by Lotus. Yeah, shout out to smoliva.blog. They have these Computer Chronicles Revisited blog posts that are really helpful for looking up these kinds of things. But yeah, this is an ad here for Lotus Signal. And you can see it's like, it looks like a modem, but it's not. Apparently it's an FM radio broadcast of some kind, and you could pick up on live stock updates that integrates with Lotus 123 and this own kind of piece of software here. I don't know how much that would have cost, but holy crap, that must have been expensive. Oh, here's an article in the LA Times from 1985. That Signal thing cost $595 plus a monthly subscription of $125. Wow.
Not a lot to show, but my word processor. Now, everybody with an IBM PC says that their word processor is the best one in the world, but they're all wrong and I'm right.
A word processor as a Christmas gift is such a Paul Schindler thing to recommend. I love it.
This one is it's from a company called XyQuest in Bedford, Massachusetts. Now, it costs $300, but it's called Xywrite. And it is the best.
You reviewed this
word processor.
XyQuest Xywrite. $300 word processing program. First came out in 1982 for DOS and later Windows, based on the ATEX typesetting system. Popular with writers and editors for its speed and degree of customization. Used in many editorial offices, including the New York Times. Yeah, this makes sense. Again, this is such a Paul Schindler type of recommendation. And that would have cost almost $900 with inflation. Reader Rabbit. I recognize that package.
Reader Rabbit. Now, this is $50. And it's made by the Learning Company in Menlo Park,
we have
California.
this up on the Apple.
We have it up on the Apple.
Let's sort of run through how this works.
I know it seems boring, and I know it seems pointless, but teachers tell me it helps teach you to read, and my daughter tells me...
That's a take. What happens?
Reader Rabbit dances.
Okay,
and it's a reward, and it doesn't seem like much of a reward to us, but what can I tell you? Kids are different.
Really enjoy it. What else
kids
do you
enjoy
have
it.
here, Paul?
What can I tell you? Kids are different.
I've got Ultimate Trivia, which is a game for grown-ups, and I just found out today that nobody on the staff here of the Chronicles believed me in my review when I said I play it every morning. I do play it every morning, and in fact, I have to turn the sound off.
The hat really does fit.
I have to turn the sound off to keep my wife from asking me, well, why?
Oh, Stuart, a little ribbing there. Yeah, so what is this? I like the cover. Trivia That Pursues You by Mentor Learning Systems. I'm seeing some references to it in old magazines and stuff like that. But there does not seem to be an archive of that either. So potentially another lost piece of software here. If anybody has a copy, archive that sucker.
The best $150 you'll ever spend if you got a hard disk. I'm telling you, the first time your hard disk crashes, you're going to wish you had all
$150 for a backup program.
Finally, Higgins, dullest packaging on the market, $400. Most expensive package I'm going to recommend, but I'm telling you, if you need
$400.
to get organized, it's aces. It's
for what? I'm not sure Paul Schindler understood the assignment here. Christmas gifts. Konetic Systems Higgins. Again, it doesn't seem to be backed up.
This is great. It turns your computer into a kind of a science chemistry lab. What you do is go into the joystick port with this little thing. You've got a thermistor, measures temperature.
That's Broderbund's Science Toolkit.
Light, and you've got all kinds of...
They had a lot of interesting packages like this back then.
Thermometer. Go into the thermometer mode, and we'll tell it to start measuring.
That's another one of those I've always kind of wanted to pick up just because it comes with all these different little sensors.
And let's see, if I escape and get back to this main menu, we'll get to our light meter here, and I can show you. We'll find out how many foot candles are going in the studio right now if I tell it to start. And there we go, 3.1 foot candles.
Foot candles, Tarantino's go-to during a power outage. What the heck is that?
Joining us now is Wendy Woods, who most of you know is our reporter on the Computer Chronicles.
This is one of those toys that's come out of Axelon, and they're putting microprocessors in little bears and cats. A.G. Bear
Is that
and
Nolan Bushnell's?
Nolan
one of his
Bushnell's
companies?
firm, right, in Sunnyvale.
What the heck? Nolan Bushnell had a robot bear? I mean, well, that kind of tracks, actually.
First, you have to wake him up. You have to wake him up. Hello, A.G. How are you today? Is that right? Say
Make a
hello.
good guest.
Say hello to Gary.
It sounds broken.
How are you doing?
That's basically all he does. He'll respond to you depending on the pitch of your voice.
No, I understand he also goes to sleep after a while, right?
Yes, if you don't talk to him for about 20, 30 seconds, he'll just nod off, and you have to pick him up again and shake him.
What is this? All right, so A.G. Bear, it's not Attorney General, it's Almost Grown Bear. Respond to the sound of the human voice, manufactured by Axelon, Nolan Bushnell. Yeah, of course he also did Atari, but also Chuck E. Cheese and the Topo robot. So he was definitely doing these toy kids, robotics, type of things. But this is just odd though, because it doesn't actually seem to do anything except have a voice synthesizer that sort of makes muffled noises. Whereas your Teddy Ruxpins and things like that, which I had one of those as a kid, yeah, you took cassette tapes and other little things you could plug into it and stuff, and yeah, that was a whole, I mean, it wasn't interactive necessarily, but it seems more enjoyable.
George, we're talking hardware this segment. What's the neatest hardware Christmas present out there?
Well, I like the PC compatibles, and Epson is rolling out a new one this year.
This is the man who makes the pivot talking.
That's
now,
right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Just laughing because you can still hear the bear going. Roop, 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 roop. It sounds like it's mocking Stewart and George Morrow.
we're talking bang for the buck here.
Okay.
And I think the Epson tried once and sort of fell on their face,
Right.
but they've come back and they're now got a product at $9.95 that is supposed to be very, very IBM compatible.
I don't know what. Like everybody else brought examples of their products. George is just like, I'm not going to do that. He's talking about some sort of Epson personal computer, which they were doing the Equity line, I think. Yeah, they were definitely one of those first ones to come out with a Korean clone over here in the US and then rebrand it. I mean, I've covered several of these, the Epson Apex and also the Vindex Head Start. Pretty darn similar, all of these, but yeah, I mean, 1985, at the end of 1985, that's pretty darn exciting. Wish he'd shown it though, or brought an example, but whatever. George Morrow does what he wants.
What would I actually use? And I went through, I just went to Comdex and looked at all the new things that were going on there, and I guess
Could you get him to shut up? Take his battery out.
We love you, AG, but we're going to have to put you over in the corner.
I love when Shafei starts to get mad. Like, you can see his temper just flare just a little bit in some of these episodes, and it's just like, shut that bear up, shut it up.
A couple weeks ago, I picked up a little printer for doing some debugging work that had on a particular program and used a printer, and I went down and found this Loki data, 192. And the reason I like this one, and I'll say this is actually I'd say a group of printers in this category that are very lightweight.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. You bring an example. This is a television show. You don't just talk about a thing that exists somewhere, you show it.
This is a tiny new little computer. I guess you can't even call it a microcomputer. This is just a delightful little machine. It's called the Access, and it just came out from a company called Mellar Technologies of New York, and it's an incredible little machine.
Mellar Technologies Access. I thought that was like an Atari Portfolio or one of the DIP computers at first, but this is years before those.
It really operates a lot like, say, a Radio Shack Model 100. It obviously doesn't have a real great touch typing keyboard.
It's a lot smaller, isn't it?
But it's a lot smaller, but it's interesting. Even though it has a 40 column by 8 row screen, which isn't too bad, you can actually create 80 column by 24 line documents and window across them. So it'll wrap it whatever size you want. It opens up in a nice function menu like a lot of those other portables do. It has a built-in Word.
That's kind of fantastic for 1985, just the clamshell form factor and everything, having all that in there.
Okay, it'll do a keyword search of all the files. Say, give me the file that had Kill Doll's name in it, and it'll come up with it. Or if I can't do that, I can call up files by the first 6 lines of each document, and it'll just...
Yeah, that is really, like having a word processor built in, and also that kind of search functionality, searching throughout documents. What happened to this thing? So the Computer History Museum has a little write-up catalog number thing about the Access 2 from 1992, but I can't find anything about the first one. Apparently they might have also made a briefcase computer and something called a sidearm. So pretty much all I can find is this article, a little blurb really, in Popular Science, August 1985, where they briefly mention it, and that Mellard says it will initially market Access only to other manufacturers or distributors. So who knows if one of these ever even came to the market or if it just showed up in the press. Oh no, what are these?
Cat. Apparently next year they're coming out with a dog. Petsters are responsive to your voice or to claps.
I guess so.
And they have minds of their own. They supposedly will purr if you say purr, but I haven't been able to get them to do that. Clap. Go ahead, clap.
Oh,
There we
There
go.
it goes. Well, that's close.
hardware comes to the hardware designer.
Okay,
Go
now,
ahead.
I remember these kind of little things, especially in the 90s when they got like real cheap, right? And you can go to KB Toys and you make a sound or whatever, and it would just, you know, do whatever. It's something like amusing for about 5 minutes.
I hope you have a very pleasant Christmas from all of us here. I hope you find a nice high
Yes, he said Christmas.
Christmas tree. We'll see you next time.
All right, random access. See what the news was. 1985 in December.
In the Random Access file this week, December computer sales are looking good, but not because of Christmas. The most activity seems to be in business computers, where buyers are motivated more by year-end tax considerations than by holiday giving. Projections now are that home computer sales will be slower than last year, while office computer sales will be up more than 30%.
That's fascinating for the office and business computer sales to be up, but not necessarily the home computer stuff. Which, if you think about it, yeah, the Amiga and the Atari ST, they were there, but certainly not going to be setting any sales records. The Macintosh, expensive. IBM AT, also a very expensive, but also businessy. And what, he had the Tandy color computers and the Apple IIs that were in Commodore 64. I'm sure they were all still selling all right for home computers, but, and you know, even the Epson they were mentioning earlier, that hadn't really hit the US yet. So those cheap clones and Turbo XT kind of computers that were so cheap hadn't really started yet. So yeah, 85, in a way, kind of a slump in home computer sales.
At the low end, the surprise hit of the season is the orphaned Atom computer, which is selling better than it did last year. Discounts on the PC Junior and on Apples are also pumping up holiday sales.
Well, as I was just saying, yeah, I totally forgot about the Atom. Of course, I think everybody did.
The rumors are getting hot and heavy about IBM's new operating system. One version of the story is that Microsoft will come out with a generic DOS 5.0, but that IBM will come out with its own superset of 5.0 that will take advantage of the AT's 8286.
Wait, 5.0 for DOS in 85? Maybe he meant MS-DOS 4? Because yeah, MS-DOS 5 didn't come out until like 1991.
It may just be coincidence, but now that Steve Jobs has gone from Apple, his former partner Steve Wozniak is buying up Apple stock. The Woz reportedly has bought $5 million worth of Apple shares and plans to buy more.
How much would that be worth now? $5 million in shares. Apparently Apple stock was worth around 7 cents a share at the time. Holy crap. Do the math on that, but if you'd have held on to $5 million worth of Apple stock.
Data General says it has a new lap portable that will have a built-in hard disk drive and an easy-to-read screen. The new product is being described as a laptop XT.
What was that? I gotta look it up. It's probably the Data General 1 Model 2, which came out the following year. And that was about $5,000 with that hard disk. Holy nuts. Roughly $15,000 with inflation.
In our legislative update file, the chairman of the House Government Operations Committee says the Social Security Administration's new computer system is a mess, suffering from missed deadlines, cost overruns, and political problems. The computers are now expected to cost nearly $1 billion, almost double the original estimate, and 2 Social Security officials have been found guilty of soliciting bribes in connection with contracts for software.
What else is new?
It's time for our software pick of the week, and here is the unbribable Paul Schindler.
You know, it doesn't seem to take much to make a boot kick, right? But if you think of a boot as a metaphor easily grasped by children, you've made the first step into the world of make-believe, in which you'll find Rocky's Boots. This is one fantastic, complicated game. Even adults can learn from it. MIT graduates like myself may have to pinch themselves to be sure they've not died and gone to heaven. This program works okay with a keyboard, but it's a lot better with a joystick.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is about Paul Schindler's style of reviews, but I was definitely inspired by it just a little bit whenever I started LGR, specifically covering, oh geez, what was that one thing? Like Golden Oldies? There was a software package, and I saw him review it. It made me want to cover it, and I started doing a lot of similar things early on in LGR. In terms of subject matter. Anyway, Rocky's Boots. Never played this one.
If you succeed, you can get Rocky to dance. Well, we didn't manage it this time, but you can if you buy and use Rocky's Boots, a real kick, for $50 from the Learning Company in Menlo Park, California. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Paul Schindler.
You want software? Listen to this. Reference Technology is selling a CD-ROM for the IBM PC that has over 8,000 programs on it, and it's free if you buy the optical drive for $1,600.
I wonder what optical drive that was. There were not many CD-ROMs available back then. I've covered one of the earliest ones, but yeah, who knows?
If you have a PC Junior and you're determined to use it for business, you can now buy a hard disk drive for the Junior. It's $800 from TW Technologies. And if you need a break...
Never heard of TW Technologies. I've certainly seen and have had PC Junior hard drives, but who is TW? Who knows, I guess. There's a couple of mentions of the company, but not specifically really the PC Junior hard disk that they were talking about.
And if you need a break from staring at spreadsheets, there's a new RAM resident program called Chuckle Pops. It stores hundreds of jokes in your computer, so when you get fed up trying to figure out where cell H27 came from, you can take a laugh break. It's $14.95 from Enlighten.
Is it called a Chuckle Pops? Once again, not finding anything about it except for pretty much this episode. No backups. It's fascinating. Just one episode. How many pieces of software or pieces of hardware you can find like nothing about except for mentions in Computer Chronicles. It's nuts.
Finally, Jack Tramiel had the last laugh at the Winter Comdex. Atari was probably the only company that knew it would make money at Comdex. Why? Because Atari sublet its big booth to 45 different software vendors who were writing for the 520 ST. They each paid Tramiel $1,000 for the right to help man the Atari booth.
That is the most Jack Tramiel move. Like getting a booth at a show and then subletting it out to offset the cost. I mean, it's probably cool for the developers that were there.
That's it for this week's Chronicles. We'll see you next time.
Yay! Computer Chronicles! 1985, Christmas Buyer's Guide. Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful show. I hope that you enjoyed going along with me. Yeah, you too. I don't know, it's comfort food. It's enjoyable any time of year, but these Christmas episodes in particular, I always enjoy just seeing the Christmas spirit through the lens of old computers and the Computer Chronicles crew in particular. They're just comforting folks and it's enjoyable vibes, and I don't know. I always go back to it and I figured, hey, why not do this year, since there's not too many other things I can cover at the moment without going deep into storage and just spending a whole lot of time on finding things. But anyway, still fun to do something kind of Christmassy for an episode. And so yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video, whenever that happens to be. Thanks for watching.